Does your Subaru click or thunk when you change into drive or reverse? Or does it maybe vibrate and make noise at highway speeds?
Continue on Alberta 1 East for 12 kilometers.
If you answered yes to both of these, then it's probably your drive shaft. More specifically, your drive shaft U-joints.
So today, I'm going to show you how to replace your drive shaft. We're doing it specifically on my 2004 Subaru Forester that has over 400,000 kilometers on it, so it was about time that my U-joints started to fail. Unfortunately, on these Subarus, they don't have replaceable U-joints. You actually have to go replace the whole drive shaft as one unit. So today we'll be replacing it with a stock used drive shaft. So let's go ahead and learn how to do it. First thing you're going to want to do is lift up your car. I could actually probably do this without lifting my car because, well, it's got a lift on it already and I can sneak under my car no problem. But just to make it a little bit easier and help you guys follow along, we're going to go ahead and lift up the car and put it on some jack stands. And now that's going to go ahead and give us a ton of room to work under the car. So let's get under and start seeing what we need to remove to get to the drive shaft. So you can just see the drive shaft right here. So you're going to see we have a couple things we got to remove. One thing is, well, I have a skid plate. If you're like me, do off-roading, you probably have a rear differential skid plate like me. So we're going to have to pop that off. It's just these bolts here. And then I should be able to loosen it off and kind of drop it down out of the way. And then we have the exhaust. Exhaust is kind of just easy to maneuver. We're just going to undo it and push it out of the way. I'm not going to try to break the bolts free because good luck, have fun. And then we have the prop shaft guard right here. And then back there, we have a carrier bearing. That is going to be probably the most difficult to get to because we have a heat shield in the way and an exhaust. So I'm going to start with this guy. We're going to pop this off and then work our way 6 bolts on here. I'll show you where they are. Get that off. And then hopefully it should be just easy as unbolting and dropping it down. As you can see, I've got that off. I also popped the exhaust off. It's really just 3 hangers, and I'll show you where those are. You got one hanger here in front of the muffler, and then you have one here and here on the back side of the muffler. And all you got to do to remove these is grab a little bit of silicone spray, spray it on the rubber there, then grab yourself a set of pliers and just push it through. And it's really easy. Even these old ones came off with no problem. So we now have more room to play with this out of the way. Now up here by the prop shaft guard, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have to drop these to get access to, well, the drive shaft here. So what we'll be doing is these, I just will breaker bar loose and then we'll go ahead and hit them with the impact and they should come off because they don't appear too rusty, and I hit them with some penetrating oil. So, and with the tail shaft guard removed, it's time to go ahead and tackle the next thing. The last thing we're going to be doing is the tail shaft bolts, so we'll leave those for a second. But the next thing we'll be tackling is our carrier bearing right here. You can kind of see it hiding here. It's kind of the 2-piece drive shaft where it mounts to the body here. So we have a heat shield in the way. We're going to go ahead, remove these 2 bolts. They shouldn't be hard. I should just be able to impact those off and then drop this out of the way and see if we can get an impact into here and just drop the carrier. And with that center carrier bearing removed, we can go ahead and remove the drive shaft. All that's holding it on are these 4 bolts here. So essentially, we're going to have to take a 12 mil and jam a crowbar in between these 2 yokes and just break these free and loosen them off. And then you're going to want to leave one a little bit loose or just leave the bolt in and then grab the drive shaft before you go ahead and pull it out. Because once these come off, the whole drive shaft is going to be coming out. And there we go. So we have the last bolt out of the drive shaft here. So the only thing holding it up right now is this crowbar. So once I kind of wiggle it around, it is going to drop free. One thing to mention is that there is going to be a little bit of ATF leaking from your transmission here. So you're going to want to put a bucket and some cardboard there. It's going to leak on my heat shields. There's nothing really I can do about it. I'm not too worried. It will eventually wash off, I guess. But with this, there, a wiggle, there we go, popped out. And then we should be able to slide the rest of the shaft out. I'll probably have to go up front so I can get it through, but shouldn't be too bad. We should be able to get it out, no problem. That's why we got the good clunk. So this one is obviously completely shredded. It's kind of hard to see, but you can actually see where the needle rollers were. They pieced out a long time ago. That's pretty impressive. I don't know what caused that, but yeah, that's why it's clunking and vibrating, because there is nothing left there. And well, with our old drive shaft over here and our new drive shaft here, it's time to go ahead and put it in. As I said, you are going to see a little bit of leakage. I actually didn't see very much leakage at all when I pulled the shaft, so maybe we'll find some on the heat shield. But with that being said, I have the new shaft here. It is a little bit rustier than the old one, or at least the old one's covered in dirt. But biggest thing is you're going to be checking your yokes here, and these move freely and they don't catch, and they don't like have any wobble in them. So that's the most important thing. Both on the front and on the rear, they both move freely. So they should do me a little while. As I said, I would optimally like to replace these with serviceable U-joints at some point, and obviously I probably will. But for now, to get the car back on the road, we're just going to put a used one on, because I could go grab one in the junkyard relatively easily and relatively quickly. So this we're going to go ahead and put in the car. We're going to have to be careful with putting the input shaft, or the output shaft, sorry, on the transmission here, because we don't want to wreck the seal that's on the transmission side. So I'm going to actually go ahead and put it in from the front here, and we're going to not worry about the rear, the yoke right now. We're going to go ahead and worry about the carrier bearing and getting this at least one bolt in there, because if we have one bolt in here, then it's not going to shift around and possibly wreck the seal. And with the carrier bearing bolts in, as well as the heat shield mounted back on the car, all we really got to do is reverse everything back here. So that means that we're going to go ahead, we're going to bolt up the yoke to the differential, and there is no real torque spec on it. There probably is, but I did look because you're doing it with a wrench, so it's hard to get a torque spec on it properly. So we're just going to do good and tight, make sure the lock washer is on the nut side, and make sure your little notch on your bolt is facing the yoke, or you won't be able to get the bolt in. That kind of will be a little bit of an issue. And then once we get that, we get the prop shaft guard on, so do that. Gonna just hit it with the impact. It's not a huge structural thing. And then it's just mounting up the rear diff skid plate and then putting the exhaust back up using the same method, and we're all pretty much all done. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this, see if I can get it done in the next 15 minutes, and we have successfully changed our drive shaft in like only a couple hours. It's not a huge deal with these cars. And well, there we go. We have everything buttoned up. So we have the prop shaft guard done. We have my skid plate put on. It was a bit of a pain. Had to use the crowbar a little bit to maneuver it in place. And then we have the exhaust hangers, which I don't know if my exhaust wiggled around or something, but they were an absolute pain, especially the inboard one by the diff. I had to use a pry bar to get it into space, and then just use a lot of silicone oil, but we were able to get it done. So with that being said, we have successfully changed the drive shaft on my Forester. As I said, it's not that hard of a job, actually. I thought it'd be a little more complex, there'd be a little more stuff in our way, but it honestly wasn't as bad as I was expecting. It only took me about 3 hours, so if you have some hand tools, it'll probably take you a little bit longer, because the impact helped definitely with the reassembly as well. But as you can see, my car is absolutely covered in dirt, and it just absolutely covered me today. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of, well, repairing the Forester, and I look forward to getting back out on the trail. So I'll see you guys out there.